Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to continue on with more stories of Sherlock Holmes. Now, this one is a fictional film shot in 1962. I'm going to jump over to the IMDb page here. Yes, it's a German film, but it stars Sir Christopher Lee, who was, if you are not familiar with this actor, I became familiar with him from playing Sauron in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He might be in the Hobbit films. I have not seen them. So he also plays a strange position, a role in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You can see my reviews on that. So, and that is the very strange film. Moving on. So this one again is a German film. It's about an hour and 24 minutes. It's called Sherlock Holmes and the Deadly Necklace. This is not one of the original tales, so this is not an adaptation. It is just using the characters, and from what I can gather, it is in the public domain, at least in the United States. Again, this is a German film that was shot in Ireland. Excuse me. Allergies, or cold, I'm not sure which. My kid's been sick too. So this was directed by Terence Fisher, who I'm pretty sure this is connected to The Hound of the Baskervilles, which is a film I will be covering shortly, as well as the book. I need to get through that. I am reading the book now, and I do have the copy of the film. I believe it's one of the older ones. There's lots of Hound of the Baskervilles, but nonetheless, this is kind of an interesting tale. This is definitely more of a modern take because it has cars, so it's not taking place in Victorian London, where of course there would not be cars. There would be horse-drawn carriages. Excuse me. So, and Watson owns a car, which is, again, very interesting. And actually acts as a medical doctor. I'm not sure he ever acts as a medical doctor in the books, in the stories. It's been a while, and I haven't read all of them. So, but nonetheless, in this specific fictionalized tale, Sherlock Holmes and Watson do battle with their nemesis, Professor Moriarty, who, if you are familiar with Sherlock Holmes, is Sherlock Holmes' nemesis, and I do believe he kills him, and that's how Conan Doyle ends his Sherlock Holmes tales, at least from him writing them. So, and they are fighting over an ancient necklace attributed to Cleopatra, and it starts off with Holmes pretending to be someone else and collapsing on the doorway, and then one of his helpers, a word I can think of because again it's 8:30 at night and I have a kid. So one of his informants is then killed on their doorstep, and sends them off to a bar that is frequented by sailors. And then they do all sorts of things. He's convinced they're Moriarty. There's a lot of things using the London Times for various reasons, and using the London Times to find that this necklace and the box it was stolen in, because they did find the article where Moriarty and a few other people were involved in what amounts to be raiding an Egyptian, what they think is Cleopatra's tomb, because why this is not Victorian England, I believe it is considered possibly I don't know if you even Edwardian. It was filmed in the 60s. It's still, I can't pinpoint the time period. I'm guessing just by the cars, the 1930s, maybe the 1940s. Excuse me. I'm leaning toward 1930s here. just because of the cars. And they still have electric lights and everything. But again, it's England. They're still robbing things. It's just kind of what they did back then. I'm not sure they're still doing that. Moving on. But again, one of them stole that particular necklace and various money and ran off. They do find him. He's staying with his wife and a friend in a manor. And he is basically, Moriarty sends someone to kill him. This gentleman ends up killing this other guy, switching places, and then he's killed by Moriarty while hiding. So, and of course the necklace is missing, and it's a whole cat and mouse thing trying to get this necklace back that involves Holmes getting it back once and then losing it again. It's supposed to go to auction, and then it's nearly stolen again. Only it's Holmes who steals it, and then it's put up for auction and bought by a Texan. So it's an interesting film. It's definitely the whodunit. It definitely covers Sherlock Holmes, and I do believe I enjoy Christopher Lee, who in this position. This is the 60s, so he's much, much younger. Again, this is a gentleman who is very much aware of what it means like to see someone stabbed, and there are multiple people who are stabbed on this film, so they may have been taking his advice on what it seems like to have someone stabbed, which, yeah, and yes, I know this from watching The Lord of the Rings. So, because he wasn't, I believe, an assassin in World Wars, because that, of course, was Sir Christopher Lee. The other actors who I have no clue, again, not my generation. This came out in 62. And again, it is a German film, so I cannot pronounce half of these people. I am going to jump into the cast and get to Dr. Watson and at least give his name if I can find it, because obviously he is British, and he has to be British because he's Watson. And let us see where that is. Dr. Watson is played by wonderful Thorley Walters. Open up here. So he died in 91 at the age of 78. He was in a lot of Sherlock Holmes, and did a few other things. So it's an interesting movie. Back to the beginning. It's about an hour. How long is it here? It's an hour and 24 minutes. Again, it came out in 1962. Age range. It depends. Again, there's no outright gore, but there is several people who are killed. It is in black and white. It is about murder, and there's lots of smoking going on. So I'm going to say middle school range if you're interested in Sherlock Holmes tales. I mean, it is a typical whodunit with Sherlock Holmes. I enjoy Christopher Lee in this role. He seems to be having a great deal of fun playing Sherlock Holmes. And you see some of the old cars. It was shot in Ireland, so that's where it was shot, and they dubbed everything. So none of the voice was done on set, and they re-recorded everything, which is kind of interesting. But again, this is a German film, and no, I'm not going to pronounce the original German title, because I don't speak German. So it's an enjoyable film, but definitely, I'm definitely going to lean toward middle and high school range there. So it's enjoyable if you're interested in Sherlock Holmes, which I am. So I am looking forward to doing The Hound of the Baskervilles, because I do believe Christopher Lee was in that one as well. And I'm going to jump into Christopher Lee here. Essentially trying to find what he's done is difficult. As I go all the way down, because again, he's been in all sorts of things. and this came out in the 60s. The Hound of the Baskervilles. He plays, and I believe he actually plays the Lord of the Manor in this one. Because as I said, I'm reading the book now, so I have some idea of the cast of characters in The Hound of the Baskerville. I'm probably mispronouncing this. Apparently he was in The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes as well, but that came out in 1970. So he obviously liked Sherlock Holmes. I will go down into here. And into the 60s, there's the Deadly Necklace, and here's the Hound of the Bastard. Yes, he plays Sir Henry. So, jump into this real quickly. I'm not going to go into this because, again, I'm going to cover this film short. I'm going to be covering this film. So, does it show him easily? He plays Henry, who is the lord of the manor, the one who inherits the curse. So, he is, strangely enough, he is not showing up. But I will refrain from talking about that one. So that is it for this video. Highly recommend. It is in the public domain, so it should be very, very easily to find. Normally I will link where you can find it in the description like I do pretty much all my videos. So unless I'm linking, normally I can also, with books, I have a tendency to link to the author. But if you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. I will be finishing up mysteries. I will be covering, obviously, The Hound of the Baskervilles. I will be covering another children's-friendly Sherlock Holmes story, and then finishing off with a couple of things by Agatha Christie. If you're interested in my reviews of the films based on 2 of her books, I have those. Those would be both the Death on the Nile and the Orient Express. A Murder on the Orient Express. I have actually covered both of those already. I will probably cover more of Agatha Christie. She was a favorite of my mother's, which is one of the reasons I do mysteries here in December, is because I honor my mother. This is actually being filmed the Sunday before Thanksgiving, so it's the 24th of November. But next year, if you're interested in joining me, fairy tales, and yet more fairy tales. So we will be covering a lot of fairy tales. And if you can't wait, I have already covered Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast in the past, so you can check those out. So like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.